Let's take a look at the second variation, full speed. Next, let's take a look at traditional bunkai for kata. First, let's talk about the striking areas. The points on the elbow near the funny bone are the heart 3 points. Notice all these points are bilateral. If they're on the left side of the body, they're on the right side of the body. These points here are the stomach 25 and the spleen 15. Again, they're bilateral. They're on each side of the body. I need to caution you on utilizing both sides of the body at one time. Never strike one side of the body and then go to the other side. This causes a disruption in the flow of ki in the body and can add serious injury or death. So if we work one side of the body, work the right side. Give 4 or 5 days break, then work the left side. Let's take a look at the traditional bunkai in kata. This movement here is initially told to break a choke or double lapel grab. Lift the foot, step in, double strike to the abdomen. Let's take a look how this would work. If he reaches up to grab me with a double lapel grab, and I follow traditional bunkai, if he's strong, this movement won't work, and I can't reach him here. So now we're going to add the vital point striking. The first thing we're going to strike to is to the heart 3 points on either side of the arm. From here, I step underneath here, strike, lift, and come in. I lift again, place my foot on his foot, and strike either the stomach 25 or the spleen 15 points. Either one is fine. It's a double strike, and he'll fall. Let's take a look at the same movement from a different angle. Again, he grabs. He can either choke or grab. Double lapel, it doesn't matter. He's got the choke here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift, step forward, and strike the heart 3 point. This way. I lift, I pull the hands back, step on the foot, strike the stomach 25 or the spleen 15. He'll lose his balance and fall. Next, let's take a look at the actual striking surface. Striking the heart 3 will be using uraken or back fist, hitting with these 2 knuckles on the point. As we step and place our foot on his foot, we'll use a 1 knuckle punch, either with the index finger or with the middle finger, and drive through the point. This will cause him to lose his balance and fall. Let's take a look at it full speed. Next, let's take a look at a defense for a bear hug. Let's look at the striking areas first. The liver 9 on the quadricep and the gallbladder 31. Easy reference is as the hand comes down, the gallbladder 31 will be where the middle finger touches. He gets me in a front bear hug. My hands are trapped. If we're about the same size, what I'm going to do is use my chin as a distractor into the cervical plexus to get him to move slightly. At this point, I'm going to take my right hand and go to the liver 9 point here. Bring it up as in the traditional Gidan Barai, striking to the groin with the other hand, and then coming down on the gallbladder 31. Let's take a look at the classical Gidan Barai again. Stepping in a horse stance, the hand comes out, this hand comes up to the shoulder, this manner here, and striking down. Again, you can see the combat application when applied here. This time we're going to say he's taller than we are. We can't get to the cervical plexus with our chin. We're going to take a 1 knuckle punch with either index or middle finger, bring it to his ribs. We're going to push in on the ribs and then rub. As he steps back, we strike down, strike on the outside, and come to the inside. The key to this technique is to remember that it doesn't matter what leg he gives me. We're going to take whatever he gives us. So if we're here, and he steps back with that leg, I would come inside, strike, outside. If he steps back with the other leg, I would go outside, strike, inside. Take what he gives you. Don't force the issue. The leg will be there one way or the other. Let's take a look at it full speed. Next, let's look at a rear bear hug. The points we'll be striking are liver 9 and a trigger point on the quadricep. Striking a trigger point on a muscle will cause it to contract, which gives an intense pain. There are trigger points on all the major muscles. We'll be utilizing the lower block or guidon barai. He comes up and grabs us. We're going to step 12 to 16 inches out, at the same time utilizing the lower block to the liver 9. Step behind, take the elbow, drive it into the trigger point, and turn the body. Let's take a look at it from a different angle. And now, full speed. Next, we're going to talk about target areas on the neck. The first one we'll talk about is the small intestine 17. Small intestine 17 is located just at the base of the jaw. There's a muscle here, which is called the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Its job is to turn the head to the left and the right, but it also serves as a protection for the carotid artery, the common carotid, which comes from the heart up to the head and the brain. The common carotid artery meets right here and it V's and goes into the internal carotid and external carotid. In that V sits a bundle of nerves called the carotid sinus. The carotid sinus's job is to regulate blood pressure. Doctors say that if you massage the carotid sinus in an operation, it will stop the heart. But we're not going to massage it, we're going to strike it, which will lower the blood pressure, which will cause neural shutdown. Again, this technique you have to be very careful with because striking it very hard can cause death. There are other nerves in this same region behind the sternocleidomastoid. The phrenic nerve and the vagus nerve. The phrenic nerve controls the diaphragm or breathing. Striking this area with any technique can disrupt the breathing and the blood pressure. So again, it's a very, very deadly technique and you have to use care when using it with your students. The next point I want to talk about is conception vessel 23. It's right on the hyoid bone. The hyoid bone is a U-shaped bone just above the Adam's apple. This bone's job is to control the tongue. When struck, if you fracture it, you can lose use of the tongue, and the tongue can fall back into the throat. Also, you can get swelling in the esophagus, which will cause death. Next, let's talk about defense from a side headlock. We've already talked about the points on the legs, and we're going to touch on them again. You have the gallbladder 31 and the liver 9. As he locks it in, we're going to strike the gallbladder 31 or the liver 9. At the same time, I'm going to sit down. My right leg will go straight. I come up and around. Notice the way the back leg traps his legs here, so he can't kick. The left leg will trap his bicep, and we'll use a spear hand to the carotid sinus. If he tries to grab with his hand It's the same techniques we did before. Thumb in the V of the thumb and the forefinger, twisting the hand, pulling in on the radial nerve, and then striking. Let's take a look at this from a different angle. As he grabs the headlock, going to the point, sitting down, rolling around, trapping the legs and the bicep, spear hand to the carotid sinus. If he reaches up and grab, the joint manipulation to the radial, and finish. This time, full speed. Hey! Hey! Next, let's take a look at defenses against punching techniques. For this period of instruction, we're going to take a lunge punch or a forward punch. Let's look at the striking points first, though, before we get into the punching technique. We're going to start from the head and work our way down. As we learned already, this is the small intestine 17 or the carotid sinus. Now again, it doesn't matter if you get this point exact or not, because we've learned before that the sternocleidomastoid muscle hides the carotid artery and the vagus and phrenic nerve. Striking any of these is going to give you a good effect. Striking the carotid stops the blood to the head for a second and can cause neural shutdown. As we work our way down, we come to triple warmer 9. Triple warmer 9 is on the outside of this muscle right here. Again, don't be concerned with striking exactly the triple warmer 9, because these muscles are all trigger points for the hand. I can strike on this side of the muscle and get the same effect. It's a numbing sensation in the hand and the arm. Moving down to the liver 9 spot. Again, it's on that quadriceps on the other side of the leg here. Coming across to the bladder 56 and 57. Remember, anytime we're dealing with a muscle, that we can hit anywhere on that muscle and still get a reaction because it's a trigger point. Let's take a look at what it would look like with the actual technique. Kata tells us that when we do shuto, it's blocking technique. Normally we do 2 blocking techniques. One to the left and one to the right. Let's take a look at the traditional bunkai to this. He's going to punch with his left hand. I step and do my blocking technique. Now at this point in the kata, I turn and I block to the right. What is going to stop him from striking me with the other hand? Let's look at the actual application. He's going to step forward with his left foot, or his right foot, and throw a right punch. As he steps forward, I step 45 degrees to get out of the power of his hand. At the same time, I do my blocking technique. But the first strike is to the triple warmer 9, here. It causes his head to move forward, opening up the carotid sinus for the next strike. At this point, I lift my forward leg and I kick to the liver 9. And then I'm going to, as I withdraw, I come back to the bladder 56 or 57 or in between. As we do this, it'll cause him to fall when we do the finishing technique. Another option, as he punches, I do the same technique. I kick. This time I'm going to sweep him though. I'm not going to worry about coming to the bladder points. I sweep his leg down, and here I'm in position for an arm break, a choke, or an arm manipulation from the ground. Let's take a look at this technique from a different angle. He's going to step forward with his right leg and throw his right hand. I step 45 degrees, striking to the arm, striking to the neck. At the same time, I kick to the leg point and come back to the leg. Let's take a look at the same technique with the variation of the sweep. As he steps forward, I step 45, strike, strike, kick, and sweep. And again, at this position, it's up to you what you want to do. Let's take a look at this technique full speed. Hey! Hey! Let's take a look at the same technique, except with a different distance. The first technique, we were on the outside and we had the opportunity to move to the outside and do the technique. This time, we're going to be closer to our attacker and we're going to have to do a little different technique. Let's talk about the striking points first. Again, the carotid sinus. You already know that you can hit anywhere up there and you're going to get a positive effect. Next, we come down to the lung 3 and 4 on the bicep. Again, you don't have to be real particular about hitting these two, because we're going to take our forearm and drag it across the arm, hitting both points. Coming down to the pericardium 4, 5, and 6. Again, you don't have to be very particular about which one of these hit, because as you drag this down, you're going to strike again with the fist and drag it down across. And then again on the leg, the liver 9. Now, traditionally, we are taught the strike is this way, and that the lead hand is the striking hand. The lead hand is not always a striking hand. Sometimes the withdrawing hand is the initial strike, and then strike again. And that's what this technique is going to show. As he steps forward to punch, I step back into my cat stance. The hand comes up and strikes down. This is the withdrawing motion, dragging across the bicep, coming down to the forearm, dragging across the forearm. Notice the other hand does exactly what the kata says. It traps. And then we go to the carotid sinus for the finish to the neck, lift the lead leg, strike to the liver 9. Let's look at this from a different angle. As he steps forward, I go back into my cat stance. The withdrawing hand comes up, strikes down on the bicep. Notice how the head turns, and it sets up that carotid sinus. I drag the hand back across the forearm. I trap with the other hand, strike the carotid sinus. Lift the lead leg, strike to the liver 9. Ending the technique. Let's take a look at this technique full speed. The next technique will be against a reverse punch. That's where one leg comes forward and the other hand will throw the punch. First, we're going to take a look at the points we're going to strike. Again, the carotid sinus and triple warmer 9. As we said before, you don't have to be exact with these points because there are trigger points on the arm and nerves in the neck that we can also strike, which will give us the same effect. As he steps forward to punch, we're going to again move 45 degrees offline to get away from his power. At this point, his punch is strong, going forward and backwards. But his weak point is to the back left and the front right. If I pull him this way, he's got to step to maintain his balance. If I push him this way, he's got to step to maintain his balance. So the technique will come here. As he punches, I step 45. I strike to the triple warmer 9 and strike to the carotid sinus. At this point, I'm going to the back left-hand quadrant, and I'm going to take away his leg. It's like taking away one of the legs on a table. I step in, I take the leg, and I'm going to drive with my arm to that back left quadrant.